Hi submarine friends. I'm still working on the latching mechanism for the submarine hatch. So I have the stainless steel penetrators welded in. One of them was perfect. The other one had a little distortion. I hate that when that happens. You got about a 50-50 chance, I'd say. Anyways, I was able to ream it out just enough, and I also modified the shaft to fit it. Luckily, I left the bushing, the weld-in bushing, I left it proud enough so that the O-ring area is unaffected by the warpage. I did that on purpose, expecting it to warp. So this is how it works. This is the piece that goes through the bushing, and then there's this piece here that goes on the end, and it has a hole threaded in it, and there's also a hole threaded in the end of this rod. So you can see there's a bolt right here that pulls it all together. So this guy goes on here, and then this bolt right here, which is the handle, this is temporary, of course. I'll have a nicer rod with a nice knob on the end of it, like on a lathe lever or drill press lever, something like that. So that goes on there like that. This bolt threads in, and that locks it because I milled a flat spot on the shaft. So then when you turn this on the outside, it unlatches the hatch inside or outside. That's the rule. You have to be able to open the hatch from outside as well, in case your pilot has had a heart attack or something, you need to get them out. So then there's an O-ring on the main shaft going through the bushing, and there's an additional O-ring on the underside of the hatch. So this piece on top here, there's an O-ring on the underside, and the bushing is machined perfectly flat. You don't have to do that, but I'm kind of paranoid, and I'm not the world's greatest machinist, so I like to double up on the O-rings, just an extra level of security for me. So pretty simple. I'm pretty happy I did this because it is so simple and quick to do. So the only thing left to do is to make the dog that welds onto this piece, and that will latch on the underside of this land. I don't want to do that until the hatch is mounted in place, opening and closing, because I want it to rotate and clear, and it's hard to measure all that ahead of time. So I'd rather just make that piece while it's all together, and then just take this off and weld the little piece on. No big deal to do that. So the next thing I have to do, I have to remove the O-ring, and I have to put it on the conning tower and make sure that this is still flat. Because I welded the bushings in and I welded the ring in, I have to make sure that it's still perfectly flat after all that welding. I'm sure it is. I think it's just fine. If it's not fine, then I have to cut the hinges off the hatch, mount it in the lathe, which is really easy now because this window frame gives me something for the jaws on the chuck to grab. Normally I have to weld tabs on the hatch. I actually have a special ring here that I weld on, and then the jaws grab that, but this is super easy. Plus I have to make sure that the window seat is flat after welding, and I did put a window on it and it seems quite good. I think it's actually fine, and besides, you could touch it up a little bit with a file. So if this is still perfect and this has a slight deviation in it, I'll try and fix it by hand first, which is not a big deal. Plus there's a 1/16 inch cork gasket that goes in there that takes up a little bit of deviation if there's a problem. So I think I'm going to be fine. I'm pretty happy with this. I'll be able to put the brackets on the conning tower here pretty soon and open and close the hatches. I've got a big ass spring that goes in here so that it's weightless to lift. So that all works really well already. I've had it on the other submarine. So that's the progress. Ciao.